if you have a scientific mind, you're really going to eat this up, because look at this premise in the first place. If we already accept from our observations of many, many stars out there and interpolating it upon our own sun, the local star, it grows, it shrinks, it becomes a dwarf, it becomes a red giant, this and that, you know? What's not to understand that planets will also do the same thing? We know that there's a core within a core within a core of any large body. The larger it gets, the more complex it can be within itself. In fact, we do see that solar systems start out with a central nucleus and then spew out somehow in some long-term process giving birth to the planets. And in fact, we have theories now that the Earth gives birth to the Moon, or vice versa. And if you read the Secret Doctrine by Blavatsky, but that's mystical. I take everything that she puts out with a grain of salt, but I do find that incredibly fascinating esoteric information, but also examining the scientific. But this is not about Blavatsky. This is not about the scientific establishment, orthodox, dogmatic, verging now on arrogant ignorance of the Plate-Tectonic theories, the earth sciences. This is not about those things. This is about just common sense thought experiments that you can do. And here I'm going to invoke Einstein, because Einstein basically did all of his wonderful work that is now verified and held up there just like Newtonian physics. But having said that, if you analyze and just basically learn about Einstein's techniques, he did a lot of thought experiments, and he uses logic, and he just plugs in a lot of things that are proven, but pieces it together like puzzle pieces so that we get to see a bigger picture. And he creates this huge premise of the theory of relativity. Oh, that's very interesting. Alright, I'm going to have to cut this a little bit short. But here's the premise that you can just start with. I already explained about the stars and how they create their solar systems, and why wouldn't they all expand like that? Our own Earth is not going to be unchangeable. That's the most ridiculous, closed-minded view that I've ever heard. And they literally think they're going to perpetuate this and hold their ground, like solidify their position as if they know the truth of the reality. They don't at all. This is a joke. I'm telling them they better come clean. I mean, you people are worse than some of the politicians out there. The Earth does change its size, its mass, its volume, its diameter. Every way you want to look at it, there's an evolution of the planet. You want to just study the surface and say that it's all shifting around, but the depth of it, you don't want to say it's shifting around? That's verges on insanity. I'm sorry. So I'm ready to debate anyone just on the basic points. I'm going to have to maybe clean up my language and maybe clean up my appearance a little bit and put my clothes on. I can do that. I can put my my glasses on. I'll come in with the clipboard, and I'll come in with my journals. I'll come in with all my notes. See, I got it here. I've got my clipboard. I've got a clipboard, and I've got all my notes. I mean, this stuff is deep. Look at that. Look at this. I'm telling you, I got piles of journals and stuff that has verified this in every which way that I can look at it. I hope everyone's excited out there, because I don't just come up with this stuff off the top of my head. Sometimes I tell you something that's like a spiritual revelation or epiphany that's just like this. Very simple. This stuff I dig deep into. This is the extreme probe of mystery that you get. That slogan of the channel. I've been on here for 6-7 years. I do this research for twice that or 3 times that. So you've got several decades of me looking into stuff. Let me just throw a couple more things out at you, more complex. Okay? The moon wobble. Explain that. Explain the fact that the far side of the moon is never facing the Earth. Explain the fact that the different timings of the solar bodies, from the moon to the Earth to the sun and Mercury. Look at Venus. Why does Venus rotate the other way? Do you know that? Do you know why? Why does Uranus rotate on its side, way out there? Why does Pluto now is not considered a planet? That's fine, you want to change the definition. But it goes within the orbit of Neptune. Why does that happen? What is this thing with gravity going on? And how do we have an asteroid belt? You look at the succession, just how it expands in a proportion like almost exponential. You get to this point where there should be a planet there. There's an asteroid belt. So look at, you've got like these asteroidish looking planets of Mars. What is it, Phoebe and Dionysus? I forget the name of the other one. Venus has no moon. Mercury has no moon. But again, look at the rotation of Venus. In a ratio of 3:2, you study that to its relation to the sun and its movement. And look at Mercury. Also, you can find a relation of 3:2. The relation of the Earth timing to Venus and Venus around the sun with a ratio of 3:2. Do you know that the Venus day is actually longer than the Venus year? Like, see if you can just wrap your head around that one. I'm just throwing you a few quick little factoids at you. This ain't how deep the rabbit hole goes. I'm just pointing out the hole. We haven't even got in there yet. This is like, we're not even talking about barycentric perspective. Barycenter. You talk about the barycenter. You talk about the nodal axes. I mean, it just boggles my mind. I stay up late at night. I'm sorry, folks. That's what happens in this brain. This cerebrum is working overtime on the stuff that you need to know about. It's just amazing. It's just, and I know I said I had to go because I have a little concern over in this area here of my space. But what else can I tell you? I wish we had I should do a Google Hangout. But how do I get people to come to the Google Hangout when I'm being suppressed like this? Well, look, expanding Earth is definitely real, and I want everybody to get with the program. There's no such thing as subduction, or at least to the point that the idea of total extreme subduction is not a full understanding of what's going on. You have to look at the mantle, and you look at substructures that are leading up into the crust, the movement of the magma. You got to look at batholiths, the entire Pluton. You've got to look at geologic evidence. You got to study the rocks. I'm not even sure about carbon dating and all that stuff. That I don't use as a proof, but I do look at it as something to talk about it, because comparable or comparable from one to the other is important. But absolutely dating it as far as time scale, I don't believe. Because you could look at a rock and another rock and say this one is 4 million, and then you can say this one is 40 million. but you could be wrong. Like the 4 million one could actually be 40 million, and the 40 million one could actually be 400 million. It works like that. 'Cause I don't know how reliable it is. Okay, so that probably throws a lot of people off. But having said that, it's not just about the time scale. It's about composition, how it formed. And by the way, I'm into paleontology too. I look into this stuff and forget about anthropology, archaeology. I mean, that kind of stuff, architecture, ancient civilizations, all that stuff. Writings, literature, history. Hey, listen, aside from that, the rabbit hole goes really deep, and when you look at it, the fossil record, and studying that, they don't even know how much the fossil record is. I've got stuff that I found, and I look at it, it's like they call it something, they have some Latin crystallized category they put it in. That is a life form. I'm looking at this thing, and there is no way that wasn't some kind of prehistoric life form. I look at this, and I look at the layers of the strata where it comes from, and it's all mixed in, but obviously. It's just like when you open up a puzzle box and everything is just jumbled together. It's like that. When I go out and I'm looking at rocks, I'm a rock hound. I look at plants, I look at the atmosphere, I look at cloud formations. It just goes on and on and on. And the coolest thing is when you learn to connect the dots and you see how everything has to fit together in this bigger picture, a bigger picture. Or as my gym teacher used to say, the bigger picture. The bigger picture, not picture. Picture. He said the bigger picture, because we were doing baseball and stuff. But anyhow, that's a different joke. Thanks for listening. Put all your comments. I think I've tweaked your mind a little bit, maybe inspired you to study science, especially the expanding Earth theory. And we're going to have a nice discussion here. And I also want to say, like this, share it with all your friends, and make sure you subscribe, because YouTube is flawed. Double check on these things before you go. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.